Hello and welcome back to Hollowacreshomestead. Homestead. We are in the kitchen today and I am making bread. I'm going to start with a basic loaf bread and then I'm going to finish making a French loaf bread. So your basic white loaf is probably one of the easiest breads to make. Here I have my yeast mixture. I went ahead and made it up already. So this consists of 3/4 cup of warm water, about 1.5 tablespoons of sugar, and 4.5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm going to go ahead and pour this into my mixer bowl. Now I'm going to get 2 2/3 cup of water. There's 2. A 1/4 cup of sugar. Give a whisk. Three tablespoons of room temperature butter to get a nice one. 1, 2, 3. He now calls for 9 to 10 cups of all-purpose flour. Because this is a loaf bread, I want to use bread flour, but because I do not have a whole lot of bread flour or all-purpose flour, this right here is all that I have left right now. I'm going to mix them both. So it'll end up with the bread being firm, yet still soft. We'll start with the bread flour. There's 3 cups of bread flour. Now I'm going to add the salt because you don't want to add salt directly to your yeast. Okay, 1 tablespoon of salt. So here's a 1/2 tablespoon. It seems like a lot. 1 tablespoon. This is a bread whisk, and I'm going to now just whisk this together. Once it is all combined, we're going to move to the KitchenAid mixer, which is over there, and mix it up the rest of the way with that, and then it will knead for 7 to 10 minutes. 4, 5 cups of bread flour. We're now going to switch over to the KitchenAid mixer and fit it with the dough hook attachment. We'll turn the KitchenAid mixer onto a level 2 and add in more flour, 1/2 cup to 1 cup. When the dough begins to pull away from the sides of the bowl and form into a dough ball, turn it out onto a floured surface and knead for 5 to 7 minutes. Here's my bowl that I have sprayed with avocado oil. It's just what I kind of had on hand. You can use any oil that you have. So now I'm going to take my dough ball here, put it in the bowl, and I'm going to coat the dough in the oil. Alright, the dough we just made is in the microwave behind me. That will make 2 loaves of white bread. I am now going to move on to the French bread. And I have already made the yeast mixture up for this as well. This is 2 cups of warm water, 1 tablespoon of active drying yeast, and about 2.5 teaspoons of sugar. The recipe calls for 5 cups of flour, so I'm going to mix again the bread flour and the all-purpose flour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2.5 teaspoons of salt. 2.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to mix this together. You do not want to add the yeast mixture directly on top of the salt because the salt will kill the yeast. In this French loaf, we're only going to add, that's a teaspoon, 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2. Now we're going to add in the yeast mixture a little at a time.
Now the dough has gotten a little tough to work with by hand, I'm switching it to the KitchenAid mixer and allowing it to knead the rest of the way. When the dough has pulled apart the sides of the bowl, turn it onto a floured surface and knead it by hand for 5 to 7 minutes. Transfer your dough ball to an oiled bowl and coat all sides of the dough. Cover the bowl with saran wrap or a damp kitchen towel and allow to sit for 1 hour to rise.
Now that the dough has risen, I'm going to go ahead and roll it out, divide it in 2, and put it in its bread pans. The oven is preheated to 95 degrees. It is on bread proof. So what I'm going to do is get a kitchen towel, cover these up, and put them in the oven to rise for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to cover this in a towel as well and let it rise for 30 to 45 minutes. Now I'm going to get started on dinner, and what I am doing is taking some leftover pork that I had shredded up, and I'm going to make a stew out of it, adding carrots, potatoes, some chicken broth, and seasonings. So this is just something that I'm throwing together. Food is now in the Instapot. I'm going to cook it for 30 minutes, let the vegetables get nice and tender and soft, and then I will add in the shredded pork because it is already cooked, and if I add it now, it'll be overcooked and it'll taste dry, and that's not what I'm going for. And it looks like the bread is now done. Well, done raising.